with Carrie Lane. She is a professor at Cal State Fullerton, and today we're going to talk about how organizing helps her with her students in the classroom and in her job. Welcome, Carrie.
Hi.
So tell me, how does organizing help you in general in the classroom?
In general, I would say that being organized really helps me to manage my own sort of anxiety about workload. I know that the more organized I am going into the semester, the more everything is laid out in advance, the fewer last-minute crises, the more I'm able to really focus on the class as it's going and on the students themselves, rather than on paperwork or where is that file or have I written that lecture. Usually I know that all those things are taken care of before I start if I've been really organized in getting that class ready.
So Carrie, do you have any specific organizing solutions that you implement?
Well, for me, the biggest change in recent years and the best aid to organization for me as a professor has been Dropbox. I divide my time between my home office and my office at the university. And so the days that I'm teaching, I'm on campus, but most other days I'm working from home. So it's incredibly important that I be able to access all of my files and everything for a class from wherever I am. And so Dropbox allows me to do that. So inside Dropbox, I have a file for every class I'm teaching, every class I've recently taught. And then within those, I have subfiles. So every assignment for that class has a file. All of the lectures have a file. And then I also have a file just for the regular bureaucratic stuff that comes up over the course of the semester. So I can always find things quickly when I need them. And that allows me during the semester to really focus on the students and my interactions with them.
Right. That's great. What about the physical papers or any sort of stuff that you need for both locations, at your office, at the school, and at home?
Usually what I do is I have one file folder for each class for the semester. And inside that file folder goes anything that I'm going to need repeatedly over the course of the semester. I always have a printed out copy of the syllabus, of any current assignments, of any correspondence going on with students that's in hard copy form. And I bring that with me wherever I go. As soon as I get home from the office, if I'm working at home, it goes on my desk. And as soon as I know I'm going into the office the next day, it goes into my work bag. And that file is always with me whenever I'm doing anything related to work.
Okay, now let's talk about time management. So you mentioned that as soon as you get home, you put it on your desk. So you're pretty dedicated with your routine, at least, right? Do you have any systems in place for the routine as you go between both the home and the work?
I'm not sure it's sophisticated enough to call it a system, but I have two different bags, one for work and one for home, two different sort of purses or bags. And as soon as I finish a day at work, I move everything I'm going to need, my wallet, my keys, into the bag for home. And then as soon as I'm preparing to go to work, the night before, I make sure that the work bag has everything I need for that coming day, as well as my office keys. They've been left behind before in the wrong bag, so make sure my office keys are in there. And anything else that I'm going to be working with over the course of that day goes into that bag the night before, so I'm never scurrying in the morning to take things away with me.
So tell me about the physical papers in the classroom. I'm really interested in this. How do you deal with all the paper, all the grading, the reports, everything that's turned in? Do you save all of that, or how does it work?
That's a great question. It's really changing. We're in the process of these things very much changing at the university. So a lot of the paperwork we would have had in the past is eradicated because students are able to submit a lot of their assignments online.
Okay.
Some professors deal entirely online. Students submit the assignment online, the professors grade it online, send their feedback to the student. The students can then look at the paper with the digital comments, or perhaps receive an email summary of their grade and the response. So there's less paperwork than there used to be, but it depends on the class. You know, those old-fashioned blue book exams that terrify people when you take the blue book into the classroom and sit down, I still have those in classes. And so when I get those blue books, sometimes there'll be a day and I'll get more than 100 at a time if multiple classes have an exam the same day. So I have a special tote bag that I put those in and lug them around with me. And then at the end of the semester, students come and they can pick up their exams and take them home if they like. And if not, our university at least has a policy that you have to hold on to them for one full semester after the class is over.
Okay.
So I have a special file drawer in my office that is just those. It's just papers that have yet to be picked up. And so they stay there all semester, and just to be safe, I usually keep them 2 semesters.
Mhm.
And then when that year has passed, then I go in, I take all of the ones that were never picked up, sadly, that were orphaned there, never picked up by the students, and I shred those because they have student information on them. And then I make room for the next batch that's coming in.
So is that all the paper that you keep in your office, in the classroom?
Is it all the paper? I mean, I have lecture notes and things like that, but the way I deal with lecture notes is I print them out right before I go into class, and then I make notes on them as I go if there's something I want to change, if something doesn't work, if a particular in-class assignment doesn't work well, or I don't like how the structure worked. As soon as I get back to my office after that lecture, I go ahead and enter the changes, and I save it, and I title it whatever the title of the lecture is, and then I write next time after it in the file name, and then it's already there. The next time I teach that class, those updates are already built into the file, and then I toss the actual paper copy. So I don't keep paper copies of lecture notes. I don't keep, I keep on hand, I always have a few paper copies of assignment sheets with me, because even though they're available to students online, I find that sometimes they just need me to hand them a hard copy and point out what to pay attention to. So I usually have a few of those, and they live in that folder. They live in a dedicated folder for that class.
Okay.
But you'd be surprised, other than Post-it notes, which I use to remind myself of my must-do, I put right in front of me, and a few other reminders that I have around. There's not a ton of paper.
Great.
in my job.
That's really great. So you're pretty eco, I think, in regards to the majority of teachers and anyone in general having to deal with paper.
Accidentally, yes. I mean, I'd like to say it's by design that I'm incredibly environmentally friendly, but I think it's partly that universities now have so much online. One of the major changes, I've been teaching at Fullerton, this is my 9th year, and when I started, every semester I made copies of the syllabus for every single student. And sometimes I'll have 100, 150 students in a semester. It's a lot of paper. And now I don't do that at all. I'll make maybe 10 copies for the students who didn't bother to print it out. But what I do is make it available online before the class begins, and I email them and ask them to print it out and bring it to class.
So how does organization help the students?
Well, I think you really can tell an organized student from a disorganized student. And that's not to say a good student from a bad student, because there are wonderful, brilliant students who are very hardworking but are just not organized. So you can tell in the very beginning. Just today, I received 2 emailed outlines for a paper that's not due until almost a week from now. And I got a chance to look them over, to give those students feedback. And because they're on the ball, because they've already read the assignment sheet, they're working on that paper in advance, they're able to get more feedback from me than somebody who waits until the last minute and it's too late to email me for comments. So I really see how it serves students' interests. As well, you can tell by the questions that students ask often if they've paid attention to when things are due and how things work in the class. I tell my students relentlessly to read the syllabus carefully and to ask me any questions in advance. And I'm always impressed when students come up and tell me at the beginning of the semester, I know I've got a basketball tournament on this weekend, or I'm getting married that month, and so I may need an extension. And I'm always happy to grant them that, especially when they're so organized about their own schedule that they ask me in advance. I'll certainly work with them. It's the students who wait till the last minute or till the very end of the semester, it's harder to accommodate those requests because they are last minute. I would also say that you can tell students who take good notes and keep them, whether it's on a computer or whether it's on paper. There are students who I could ask any question about the semester, and if I give them a couple minutes to look through their notes, they could find me the answer to that question. And those are the students who are really going to excel when it comes time for a final exam, because everything they need is there. They don't have to reread the books. They don't have to come back and ask me to summarize lectures. They already have it right in front of them.
So basically, by being organized, they have a better advantage than others.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they have an advantage. Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Carrie, for talking to us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.